Welcome to Saturday Shred Show. Big shout out to Garen Deffley and Simon Stead, who both asked for the Unibrow. Surfboard shapers all over the world make surfing more fun by experimenting inside of their shaping bay and then giving us exciting new shapes to float on in the ocean. But Firewire experiments with both shape and material construction. This means they work with Matt Boyalos, Nev Hyman, and Daniel Thompson, who all contribute shapes to the advances that Firewire makes and how boards are made. But of all the popular shapers that Firewire works with, the one you're probably least familiar with is Mann. He does not run a brand like Lost, so you don't see his face much, but shapes like the Spitfire, Dominator, and all three potato boards came from him, essentially making him the least recognizable face of any Firewire shaper, while also having the most widely recognized body of work. The Unibrow is a Dan Mann design just shy of its 1-year birthday, and it's one of the best-selling boards in surf shops. Today we're going to talk about why. Surfing this board, you may notice how easily it climbs up the face coming off of bottom turns relative to other short boards, especially coming off of weak bottom turns. On short boards, we depend on the strength of our bottom turns to drive us up the face so that we can do turns in the lip. And if you're having problems doing maneuvers at the top of a wave, it's sometimes a symptom of weak turns at the bottom of the wave. When compared to other short boards with a narrower tail outline, the Unibrow is a little bit like taking medicine for weak bottom turns, making it easier for you to get up the face of a wave without losing momentum. Once you're up at the top of a wave after a bottom turn, you notice how easily this board tips over onto a rail in top turns, and I think that we find out why when we feel right here. This is a tapered down deck, which means that as it approaches the rail, there's a line running to the top of the rail here. What we find on the hull of this board is that the concave has a parallel line running out towards the bottom of the rail here. Those two lines create a rail that's very sensitive to how you shift your weight because of the way that the thin rail comes out and angles down. It's something you also notice when you initiate a cutback because of how easy the board is to tip on a rail and how nicely it locks into a turn with stability, bringing you back towards the foam ball. You'll especially notice all this if you ride short boards with a lot of weight on your back foot because the Unibrow carries a bit more planing area in the back third of the board than usual. Paddling this board is a little bit easier than its volume number would lead you to believe, and if we were to cut this board into two pieces here and here, we would probably find that the thickest part of this board in the foil is just in front of where your front foot would be, and then it tapers back on the deck towards the tail. That thickness is balanced by the extra width in the tail to keep the board from feeling too swingy in turns. Single concave, actually fairly deep, really deep at the first two fins, coming into a slight double concave, very slight double concave, all the way out to the end of the tail. Concave through the fins running so deep, you can probably see that at home, or on your iPhone, or iPad, or wherever you watch these things from. Much more rocker in this board when compared to the Dominator, and this board also thins out much more towards the nose and much more towards the tail, making this board the call for angling up towards the lip and flicking off the top, at least when compared to the Dominator. That board may be a little bit faster, but it wouldn't have as much potential for performance as this one. In the comments section of episode 33, Blake Winters noted some similarities between this outline and the Mini Driver, but when you look at both up close, you notice that this board keeps a bit more width in the tail and a little bit more curve here, while the Mini Driver shaves off a little bit in the outline. I think this board probably shines most in 4 to 7 foot waves with a little bit of power. It's also surprisingly fun in waist-high waves, and I think the versatility of this shape makes it a pretty good option for traveling if you don't want to travel with a ton of boards, and if you want something that doesn't stray too far from a traditional shortboard, especially if you're a fan of Firewire for the durability of their FST construction. That does it for this episode. If you want to see video of this board being surfed in some pretty fun waves, check the YouTube info below. Also look down there for yesterday's episode of Fin Day Friday if you missed that. If you like the video, as always, click like, not the thumb, but the actual button below the video on the left. It is a sloppy day in San Diego, and we hope the conditions are cleaner wherever you are. We will see you next week on Fin Day Fridays and Shred Show.